Joining us now to take up the revelation that the Justice Department official, Bruce Ohr, shared that information about the discredited dossier with the FBI's Andrew Weissmann and others. At the time, Weissmann was the head of the fraud section. Now he's a senior member of the special counsel's office, or witch hunt, if you prefer. Victoria Toensing, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General for the Criminal Division of Justice, and Joe DiGenova, former U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, founding partners of the firm DiGenova and Toensing. Good to have you both with us. And let's start with this. We sort of had an indication of this throughout. But this revelation now is raising all sorts of questions. One is, it seems designed in part, at least to me, to make Ohr look better. But it certainly is damning to the top officials of the FBI. Your thoughts? Let's begin with you, Victoria.
Well, he only looks slightly better, Lou, because I think he is protecting Sally Yates. He was Sally Yates' deputy, and yet he claims that he never said this to Sally Yates. This needs to go to a grand jury where Bruce Ohr and Sally Yates are both brought in to say whether he told her or not. And then, for those of us who know the Justice Department, it's odd. And John Solomon's such a good reporter. His facts are accurate, but here's what's wrong at the Justice Department. John
Solomon reporting for The Hill.
This is his story, right? This is his story. I was Deputy Assistant Attorney General. I did not brief section chiefs and line attorneys. They are not senior Justice Department officials. Those kinds of people briefed me. So why is Ohr briefing people lower on the totem pole than he? And here's what else is wrong. He's briefing Andrew Weissmann. Andrew Weissmann's the head of the fraud section, as you just reported. I supervised the fraud section. It has nothing to do with FISA applications. So what was he doing there, unless he was a Clintonista to find out all kinds of things? There's
not
something
not a part
strange.
Of what would be a counter espionage or counterintelligence operation, or in any way associated with the National Security Division.
Out of his portfolio, completely. So more than the Congress lying about what was said, that's more of the story.
This is a story, Joe, as we all know, that goes on, and with the names that have been fired and transferred and demoted, and I mean, and on the list goes, at the top of the Justice Department, but primarily at the Department, the FBI. There's no prosecution. There's nothing happening here. This is an entire deep state, it seems, at least to most of us observing from a distance, that is purely to run out the clock and to deny justice, not to bring anyone to justice.
Well, I think that's all going to change when Bill Barr becomes the Attorney General. I expect him to authorize grand juries into all of this if they're not already being conducted, and to make them robust if they are not robust now, and to replace people who are not doing their jobs, including Mr. Huber. What's fascinating about the Ohr testimony is that he now establishes as a fact that the FBI was told before the first application for a FISA warrant that the information was unverified, unreliable, and that Christopher Steele had an animus toward the President of the United States, and that they needed to be careful. And we know that they were not careful. What he has done through his testimony is established that there was a cabal, that the FBI senior officials and senior DOJ officials wanted to get Donald Trump regardless of the evidence, and they wanted to spy on him, and they succeeded in doing so by lying to a FISA court, which has now been established, and committing federal felonies in doing so. I expect Attorney General Barr, when he is confirmed, to impanel a grand jury to investigate all of this.
Let's get your opinion on this. William Barr, a man with a reputation for integrity and effectiveness, do you think he understands that this is a time in which the FBI has zero credibility with the American public, zero regard for the integrity, and I'm talking about from field agents through the top officials, unfairly in some cases, but for the top leadership of the FBI, the Department of Justice, it is a quagmire of corruption.
I think he knows that the Department of Justice and the FBI, its most important component, are at an historic low in public respect and esteem. He knows that the senior people of the Obama DOJ and FBI have destroyed an institution for two reasons: to protect Hillary Clinton and to destroy Donald Trump and to destroy his presidency. This is, in fact, the greatest political scandal in the history of our country. And I expect Bill Barr to do what he has always done. He will enforce the law equally, but he will also ensure that the DOJ and the FBI are rooted out of people who have subverted the rule of law.
And let me tell you what else Bill has. He has a love of the law. And those of us who've been at the Justice Department feel the same.
I hope we have somebody that has a
for
love for this country and for the American people.
But that is
Because
the
they
love
have
for the
been
law, Lou.
They have been. This is just stomach churning to look at the level of corruption.
And those of us who love the law are just so upset about what is happening, and Bill Barr is one of them.
All right.
And he will do a fine job.
All right.